So when we're in these very comforting or confronting poses, I'm going to ask that you just breathe. And in order to kind of resonate with that breath, I'm going to guide you through just a counted breath. No crazy yogi pranayama or anything like that. Just counting your inhales and exhales for the same amount of time. So inhale for 3, exhale for 3, and maybe playing around with taking it 4 as long as you can until you get uncomfortable. Then resonate back to that foundational breath. So that being said, let's lay on down, my friends. We're going to get started with our sleepy time yoga. If you are feeling nuts, you can put your sleep mask on now. Just let your body kind of do that. If not, we'll put those on later. So begin by laying down in any position that feels comfortable for your body, for your mood, for your Monday. And just become aware of how your body's feeling. Is your heart rate racing from the class before? Maybe you had a shitty day at work. Whatever it is, remind yourself that you're not there anymore. You are here with your body. You are here with your breath. I'm going to guide you through a little quick body scan before we officially get started. So let's start at those toes. Maybe you have socks on, maybe you don't. Maybe begin to bring some of that awareness to your toes by just finding a small wiggle amongst them. You're wearing socks, maybe your feet are nice and cozy. If you're not, maybe you can feel the wind against your feet. Perhaps they are cold. We'll warm them up in a sec. And let's take that awareness up our legs to our knees. See how they are feeling. Or the back of the calves on the mat or a prop. And then let's go up to the hips. It's very natural for us to hold on to a lot of emotion into our hips, as well as keep them kind of tight throughout our exercises. Perhaps we have a job where we're sitting a lot of the time. And let's bring our awareness up to our stomachs. Feeling the rise and lower of both the chest and your belly as you breathe in and breathe out with intention. I invite you guys to place one of your hands at your heart center. I'm going to give you an option here to set an intention for your practice. That doesn't speak to you, no need to. But in yoga, an intention is not a motivation of why you're here. It's kind of like a dedication to yourself, to your body, and to this time. So go ahead and just set one. If that sounds good. Regardless, just feel that hand rise and lower with each breath. Taking that body scan back to the throat. Maybe you're constricting a little bit. Maybe you might be holding on to something there. And then let's take our awareness over to our hands. Perhaps one's still on the chest or both. And maybe one's just heavy, feeling the support of the ground or our mat. Let's take that awareness back up to our head, perhaps our eyes. Eyelids are heavy. And just breathe here. Go ahead and take 3 more breaths on your own at any pace that sounds comfortable or nice to you before we get started. First pose of the day, go ahead and release your arms overhead if not already. And let's just take a nice good night stretch versus a good morning. Stretching through those fingertips and those toes, feeling the support from your mat as well as the ground. And then our first pose here is going to be Banana Asana. So to get into that, let's go ahead and just walk both of our feet over to the right side of our mat. And then let's bring both arms over towards the right as well, creating like a crescent figure or almost like a banana. If you're wanting a little bit more tonight, you can take that left ankle and cross it over the right. And maybe grab onto that left hand or wrist with the right hand and just take it over. Nice side body stretch. Ideally, both of your shoulder blades as well as your low back is going to remain on the floor. So you really are feeling that stretch all the way from those toes to those fingertips. I invite you guys to bring your awareness back to your breath. And maybe bringing that mind back to that breath as well. Feeling a nice side body stretch, enjoying some stillness here. That is the theme tonight. Let's go ahead and take 2 more moments here. And remember, we can always get out of a pose early if we like. Final inhale here. And with control on your exhale, go ahead and bring the upper body back first towards center. Maybe unravel the hands. And then followed by your legs. And go ahead and just move very organically here. If you need to wiggle out those hips, perhaps, planting the feet, whatever feels natural before we take it over to the left side. So when you are ready, let's start by taking those legs over to the left. Maybe hanging out here. And maybe adding those arms and that upper body over to that side as well. Feeling that stretch. You guys know the options with the bind. You need to take that grip with the wrist. Or maybe with the ankles. And just breathe here. This is a great little wind down stretch before bed. Or even as we wake up. Final 2 moments here. Go ahead and take 1 more inhale on this side. And then an exhale, bringing your limbs back to center. And once more, begin to move very organically, wiggling out anything, releasing out of anything that feels tight. And then when you're ready, let's go ahead and bring those knees up into the chest one at a time. Place the hands on top of the knees. Maybe rock out side to side. Beautiful movements. Let's find some stillness and center. We're going to take a very brief happy baby. So let's take those knees out to the side, up and towards those armpits. And your hands can just lie on your shins for now. So hands in center holding onto your shins. If you're wanting a little bit more sensation tonight, you can take that grip over to the outsides of your feet. Trying to keep those knees open, those knees wide. Pressing that low back down into the earth. And once you find that sweet spot, I invite you to enjoy some stillness here. How's that breath? Perhaps your intention was truly just to be still tonight. And perhaps that's a struggle for you. If it is, meet those thoughts with a playful mindset versus frustration. And bring your thoughts back to that breath. Bring your final 2 moments. set up, get those wiggles out. And then once you are ready, settle in. Allowing those knees to be heavy and that breath to be even heavier. How's that breath? Let's start to bring awareness to the sensations we are feeling in our legs, the lower half of our bodies. Once more, we do tend to hold a lot of stress in those hips. We honestly do sit a lot of the time as well. Final 3 here. Feel free to get up early if need be. If not, how still can your body be? How still can your mind be? Final inhale here. And on the exhale, reach those arms underneath the knees if available. And gently begin to close them. Bring them together. And anything goes here. If you want to tick-tock those knees side to side, or perhaps taking a little happy baby real quick to release that low back. Begin to take those knees into tick-tock side to side if not already. The next time you fall on the right side, go ahead and just let the legs hang out there. We will take a true spinal twist later. But in the meantime, let's roll over to that right side with our entire body, finding a little pillow with that right arm. We're here in fetal position, just to enjoy some time with ourselves. And as a transition pose, to find a seat. Feel free to stay here as long as you like. If you're ready to move on, gently press yourself up with your arms. And let's find a nice tall seat facing the top of your mats. From here, we're going to find our first forward fold of the day. So we're going to find shoelace pose. So if it's available to you, we're going to take that right leg out in front of us, and maybe that ball is going to come out towards the front as well. Shins are ideally parallel. And then we're going to just take a nice inhale here, rising through the spine. And on your exhale, hinge through the hips. Once you find that first line of resistance, then begin to arch in that spine and release it down towards center. Your ball is there as a support, as well as a tool to take you a little farther into this. Enjoying the safe space with your body, with your own thoughts. And breathe into the sensations that you are feeling, and nothing more. On every inhale, perhaps reaching forward with the crown of the head a little bit more. And every exhale, melting into this stretch, allowing gravity to do its thing. And we find that edge in this subtle pose. Can we meet it with a little bit of gratitude tonight? We're so lucky to be feeling these TikToks here. And as always, releasing out of anything that you need to. Getting some wiggles out. It might also feel good to plant into the feet and just lift the hips up briefly. Releasing it down whenever you feel necessary. And then when you're ready, let's find that same pose on the other side. So left leg is now in front for shoelace pose. And then let's settle on in by inhaling, rising through the spine. Exhale, hinge forward as far as you can. And then melt on in. Our sides are very different. And as always, we are not symmetrical beings despite all of our efforts. How's that breath? It's available. I invite you to breathe in and out through your nose with control, with intention. Let's begin to bring that breath awareness to that low back. And let's inhale through the low back, all the way up the spine until we fill up our lungs. And exhale it out. Final 2 moments here, final 2 breaths. If you'd like to take a little bit of awareness to your back and your lats a little bit more, please do so. Final inhale here. And on your exhale, slowly roll up the spine. And then we'll get out of this the same way as we did. Starting by sitting back into the hands, maybe even reaching the legs forward a little bit now. And then anything goes, release on out of this as you will. Perhaps taking the hips up to the sky for reverse plank or tabletop. And then when you're ready, you're going to go ahead and tuck the ankles underneath. Sit them on back and find the tabletop position. I suggest you keep your ball towards the front of your mat. And if you're needing a little extra cushion on our knees tonight, we're going to take that blue little pad, or we can always double up our mats like this. On our hands and knees, we're going to go through a couple cat and cows next. So if you're unfamiliar, it's just a little bit of a spinal warm-up before we get into anything deeper. So let's go ahead, meet in tabletop. Exhale all the stale air out of our lungs. And on the inhale, we're going to take the gaze up, drop the bellies down. And exhale, press the earth away, tuck the tailbone in towards the chin. And inhale, take it into that cow. And exhale, press that earth away, arch in that upper back. Go ahead and take these at your own pace, at your own mood. Just warming up the spine a little bit before we take these poses a little deeper. Beautiful breath work tonight. Go ahead and run through one more round of each. And when you're done with that, you're just going to meet me in a nice, quick child's pose. So big toes to touch, knees open wide. And then sit it on back towards those heels, reaching the arms forward onto the floor, or maybe onto that ball that's in front of your feet. Spine is long, the breath is longer. It's very common we use this pose as a safe place to just check in with our bodies, check in with our breath, and even check in with our moods for tonight. side stretch here. You can walk your hands over to the right or roll that ball over with you. Really anchoring down into the left side body and feeling the stretch all through those obliques, all the way up the arm. Let's take one more inhale on this side. And with the exhale, go ahead, slowly walk through center, all the way to the other side. Pressing those hips back far away from you. And just breathe. Let's take one more inhale over on the left. And on the exhale, go ahead, meet me in center for 3 more moments, 3 more breaths of stillness. Let's take one more inhale here. And on the exhale, go ahead and shift your weight back up to tabletop position. We're gonna find dragon pose. It's a little bigger of a pose here, so as always, get out if you need to earlier. We're just gonna stay low here and take that right leg and step it up by that right foot. Extending that back leg back behind us, untucking the toes so the tops of the feet are on the mat, and then here's where that ball can give you a little bit more space in your body. If you feel the need to press onto it to keep that spine nice and long, or maybe it's available for you to take those forearms down to it. We are going to be here for some time. Let's do that body scan real quick. Is that knee over the ankle or is it farther forward? If it is, let's take it a little farther back because we really want to target that hip flexor here. And as best as possible, let's equally distribute that weight between both of our legs. Let's do so by not staying too heavy in that upper body. If you find your knees still creeping forward, perhaps take a step up towards the top of your mat. And here's where perhaps that edge sensation is finally becoming apparent. It's very difficult to find stillness with our bodies, but it's even more difficult to find that same stillness with our minds. We have the rest of the week to deal with all that we have on our plates. But for now, let's just breathe with our bodies and this time. Option to stay here, wanting a little bit more. Open up that knee out to the side, coming to the pinky toe side of that foot. And if you're wanting a little bit of a quad stretch tonight, you can take the forearms down, reach back for that back leg by curling it in towards the glutes. The hands are a little too tight for that. Honoring your body and its limits. If you took that leg up towards the glutes, go ahead and slowly guide it back down to the mat. And then begin to bring that knee back towards center as well. Last final 5 here in stillness. And perhaps challenge yourself for how still you can be here. Allowing your body to be heavy, breath to be even heavier. Final inhale here. On the exhale, press into those hands, perhaps the ball. Shift the hips back and extend that front leg out. Finding half split here, hands can be on either side. They can be in center. Or as always, you have that ball to use as a tool to help you feel the sensations you're trying to accomplish tonight. Maybe those toes are pressing down into the earth. Or maybe it feels a little bit better to bring them up towards the ceiling. If this is a little bit much on that hamstring, you can always find a seat onto your heel. And just hang out with that leg extended out in front of you. Breathing into that hamstring. Hyperextend a little bit here. But if that's too much, feel free to keep a soft bend in that knee. Let's keep that spine reaching forward just as long as that leg. We're not here as long as that previous pose. So let's just take one more inhale with this half split, take what you like. And on the exhale, re-bend into that knee. And we're gonna crawl that foot over towards the left for pigeon pose. Ideally, your shin is parallel to the short edge of your mat. Sitting on back, extending that back leg. And for this one, you could always stay up if you're wanting a little bit of a back bend. If not, you can reach those arms forward, perhaps taking the forearms down to the ground or that ball. And once more, just breathe. If this is too confronting to you, you can find that shoelace pose that we started with, stacking the shins, perhaps the knees. That outer hip, as well as those glutes. Just go ahead and take one more inhale here. Visualize your exit route. We're going to meet in tabletop as you slowly exhale. Feel free to do any counter movements that you feel are necessary. Maybe a mini shavasana, who knows. I'm going to suggest once you get into tabletop, just wagging the tail a little bit, recentering those hips. And maybe let's take a quick child's pose. Perhaps this one feels a little different than the one that we started with. Moments, 2 more breaths here before we hit that series on the left side. Nice deep inhale here. And on the exhale, slowly roll on up through tabletop. And when you're ready, just step that left leg up by that left hand for that dragon pose. You guys know your options. You know the alignment. We'll give time for the progressions or other variations. option to take that front leg out to the side, opening up the hip a little bit more. And then once more, perhaps curling that heel in towards the glute with that back leg, finding that grip with the opposite hand. Took that foot grip, go ahead and slowly release it back to the mat, followed by bringing that knee in back towards center. And then final 5 in center. Take them or leave them. Challenging yourself here. This is tough, but my body needs it. My mind might need it. Let's take one more inhale on this side, in this pose. And on the exhale, slowly extend that front leg, shift the hips back for half split. Hands could frame the foot or the leg. You can stay on one side. Or as always, you can take that option where you just find a seat and then legs out in front. Spine is long over that leg. Perhaps raising the crown of the head a little farther forward with each inhale. And every exhale, finding that hinge a little bit deeper. Final 2 here. Let's take one more inhale into that hamstring. And on the exhale, re-bend into that knee. And then begin to crawl it over to the right for your pigeon pose. Once more, ideally, that shin is parallel to the short edge of your mat. So try to keep that leg and that foot nice and up versus in towards center. You can stay up and out of this pose if you'd like. If not, you could always find the forearms down to the ground or perhaps any props that you have with you. Option for that shoelace pose you started with. If this pose isn't serving you tonight. Breathing into these sensations that we're feeling. Becoming aware that pain is different than these stretches or these sensations. If you're feeling any pain at any time, honor your body, honor this time, and get out of it early. In order to find that edge, we need to know when to back off a little bit as well. That being said, last 5 here. Perhaps this child pose feels the most open. Let's go ahead. Take one more inhale here. And on the exhale, come through tabletop yet again. And we're going to find ourselves facing towards Citrus Street. So facing through the traffic. And we're going to find straddle pose here. So nice wide legs facing towards the streets. And perhaps we're going to find the cushion to our sit bones to give us a little bit of height here. And scoot back so much so that your heels are covered by your mat, just for a little added comfortability. Sit nice in here. And let's start by pressing those hands back behind us, sitting back to adjust our seats first. Adjust into our hips. And then when we're ready, let's take a nice inhale, shift our weight forward through the spine, arms up. And exhale, find that hinge in the hips, reaching yourself forward. And once you find that first line of resistance, melt on in. Perhaps using that ball to give you a little bit more length. Or perhaps just using it as a pillow as you are nice and heavy. We are going to be here for a few minutes. I invite you to unhinge your jaw. Pay no mind to what the feet are doing or how they look. And just breathe. Breathing into those hips. If you couldn't tell, that was the theme for tonight. Allow that chest to be heavy. And knowing you can always back off early if need be. Let's take another inhale here in center. Feel free to stay here nice and low. And now we're just going to slowly walk those hands over or roll that ball over towards that right leg. We're going to position and shift that upper body over that right leg. And reach those hands to the shins, or maybe even that foot. Breathing into that right side. Let's take one more inhale here like this. And on the exhale, all we're going to do is find that right hand to the inner right leg. And then reach that left arm over for a little side body stretch. Feeling an anchoring sensation from that left side, with that foot, with that sit bone. And we're not here too long, so let's take one more inhale here. And on the exhale, rotate your chest down through center. And then walk it slowly, controlled over to the left. Taking just that left side body so your upper body is nice and aligned over that leg. Reaching for those shins, or perhaps your foot. Rotating that chest down towards the leg. And breathe. One more inhale here with the chest rotating inward. And we exhale, go ahead, find that left elbow inside the left leg. Rotating the chest up and out. So then finding that side body stretch on the right side. Perhaps reaching over towards those toes on the left, or just that shin. Final inhale here, maybe reaching through those fingertips. And exhale, rotate the chest back down, meet me in center for your final 5. This is the last big pose I have for you tonight. So let's hone in on that foundation, hone in on that edge. And as always, hone in on that breath. Perhaps you're a little heavier now. Perhaps you're a little looser. Final 3. Take one more inhale here. And then slowly pressing into those hands. Slowly roll yourself all the way up. And let's find our hands beneath the knees. And slowly bring them in towards center. Go ahead and bring the feet together, knees together. Give yourself a little bit of a hug, arching back. Maybe a little gratitude for your body. Give yourself one final squeeze. And then as you exhale, unravel and take anything that feels natural to get out of this, to reset. And then when you're ready, go ahead and bring your gaze towards moi. As well as all your props, you might notice that there is a tissue by y'all. If it's not, it might have blown away. If you need one, go ahead and raise your hand. If anybody's allergic to lavender, do not sniff it. Just a smidge of. So in our last final moments, our last final poses, I invite you to just bring your breath back, and if you can't count on it, smell it. Deepen that breath with this lavender scent. And when you're ready, meet me on your back. We're going to take 2 final twists here. I invite you to unwrap your eye mask as well on your way down. And if you're on your back, begin to move or find stillness. We just have 2 final twists coming up next. And then, as always, the best is saved for last. You're all settled in. Let's go ahead and bring both knees up into the chest. Maybe give yourself a little squeeze here. And then when you're ready, go ahead and let those arms sprawl out into a T. If you're wary of space, you can take them into a gold pose position. And then when you're ready, drop those knees over to the right side, keeping them nice and stacked. And enjoying this release for the spine. Reaching those legs, letting them be heavy. If you're wanting a little bit more tonight, you can take that gaze in the opposite direction of those knees over to the left. Allowing your shoulder blades to find the mat, to find the ground. Enjoy this pose and everything it has to offer. To bring yourself back to that breath, perhaps use one of our favorite senses, smell. Breathing in that lavender One more inhale here, my friends. And on your exhale with control and as little efforts as possible, bring those legs and those knees back towards center. Maybe readjusting the hips, resetting them by rocking side to side. And then when you're ready, and only when you're ready, go ahead and drop those legs nice and heavy over to the left. Final pose here, my friends, for Shavasana. How's that breath? Body is heavy and supported. Final 3 here. One more inhale on this side. On the exhale, once more with as little effort as possible. Bring those legs back up to center. Lifting the feet off the ground, curling those knees in towards the chest. Perhaps giving yourself one final squeeze before we hit Shavasana. And just as a heads up, we will have some guests from next door. The little girls are going to join us tonight, so we'll all get settled in about a minute or two. So use those next couple of seconds to get out any wiggles, get your preferred setup of Shavasana, whatever that means to you. I invite you guys to hold on to that tissue and smell it and think dreamy thoughts. And I got a long one for you guys. Mission accomplished. That's the goal. So if you're unaware, Shavasana is the final pose of a practice where we really hone in on our breath as well as our mood. I invite you to use the tissues to keep that breath constant and current, allowing yourself to be heavy, allowing the breath to be heavy. And if we're finding those thoughts to escape our brain, let's bring our awareness back to that breath by counting or just breathing in those nice lavender scents. I'll see you guys on the other side. Enjoy.